It's rare that I fire up a Total War game and almost instantly shut it down again. If you're like me, you have a number of Total War games in your library, and you like to have at least one or two installed at any time for that sweet Total War diversity. I usually come back to the same ones, but sometimes I like to try games I never truly loved, like Three Kingdoms or indeed Thrones of Britannia. Now this game was controversial at launch, and it very much remains so. And that's honestly weird because it feels like it takes place during a time period a lot of people love, namely the Viking Age and the battle for the British Isles, as we see Norse Vikings clash against the newly formed Christian kingdoms on a firmly Roman island. So then, in this video, we're going to take a look at why this game failed, why it's disliked, but also what it added that other Total Wars can learn from. And if that sounds good to you, I hope you leave a like and a comment down below. It would really help both me and the channel out. Total War Saga Thrones of Britannia released at a strange time. It came during a period where fantasy was all Total War was doing, and was released as a sort of band-aid style game for the historical fans out there. That is after all what the Saga games are, in a way. The ideas were good, even exciting. We would be able to play on a massive map of the British Isles, and fight for dominance in a highly turbulent time. Perhaps more importantly, this game came out arguably at the height of another game, namely Paradox Interactive's Crusader Kings 2, indeed in the same year as CK2's best expansion ever, Holy Fury. But let's get back to that later. Let's start with why Thrones of Britannia sucked. Right from the get-go, this game really got on my bad side, and the biggest reason for that is the fact that Thrones of Britannia is made using the same engine used in Total War Attila. If you haven't been living under a rock, you'll know that the Attila engine is infamous for being the most laggy Total War game ever made. The difference between them though is that Attila is actually beautiful to look at and comes with mechanics which makes it fun to play. Thrones of Britannia do not have these redeeming qualities. Take the campaign map. In my oh so humble opinion, Britannia is one of the most boring settings there are in terms of visual diversity. There are few spectacular mountain ranges, few impressive rivers, and indeed, the geographic diversity is extremely low. Sure, we have some nice ugly bogs and marshes in England, and some nice fjords and snow-covered lands in Scotland. But it's also brown and green and just boring, honestly. And this is not to say that Britannia is inherently boring. Just take a quick look at Britannia as it's made in Rome 2, or Attila, indeed, how it's beautifully made in Rise of Charlemagne. Coupled with the fact that the game is laggy as heck does it no favors, and it all comes together to create a really bland, colorless, murky and laggy Total War campaign map with no added benefits to make up for it. But it doesn't stop there. Take a look at the UI. It's cluttered as heck. CA went for this weird blue-toned UI which really reminds me of a mobile style UI, and I really don't like it. But worse is the fact that, again, the campaign map is bothered by it. There's no rest or immersion in having every city be represented by a massive name and faction symbol, but even when turning these off, the cities become hard to identify, so you're left with bad UI design either way. And I hate how the names just pop in at the top of the screen there. The game even reverses Attila's great city building UI and goes back to a Rome 2 style one, having each building be represented by a cartoon image rather than something more realistic. The same thing goes for the character portraits, and even though this is a stylistic choice, I personally am not a fan. Further, it would have been nice if there were more unique city models on the map, because everything just looks the same really, even though there might be some minute differences here and there. There's also something about the scale of the game that just seems off. Yeah, sure, we have a massive map of Britannia, but where are the major events with impactful choices and consequences? Where is the flavor? Where is the political intrigue between factions, with large events that could really make for a unique Viking Age experience? There are indeed some smaller ones concerning characters and factions, but they're not nearly enough. Okay, so remember when I mentioned CK2? Well, we're back at it now. Because Thrones of Britannia actually tried here. It kind of tried to double down on the governor system in Attila, allowing us to delegate estates to various generals which made them richer and more loyal. I'm all for a system like this, but it was just never as fun as intended, and the cartoony profiles and lack of personalities, which CK2 had in buckets, made the entire system come off as half-assed. So the game's arguably most innovative system was not even that fun. It did something that was genuinely cool though. The game lets you recruit units from a global pool, but only get a full stacked unit over time, meaning that there is no real way to surprise attack your enemies with a full army out of nowhere. This mustering period is an actual cool idea, but also kinda helps to slow down an already quite boring and slow game. And speaking of slow, let's talk about the battles. This time period is not necessarily known for its unit diversity either, and even though you'll have access to some cavalry, you'll mostly deal with spear or sword and shield infantry, spear throwers, slingers, and the like. These types of units are by no means inherently bad, but when this is all there is, and we neither have spectacular new graphics, performance, or battle map changes to spice things up, it really does get old and boring fast unless you're some massive fan of this combat style in particular. It all just looks and feels like a subset of the barbarian factions in Attila, but again, now with less diversity and other cool features. It's true that the siege battle maps are somewhat overhauled, with a few more wall options and such, but it does very little to fix the overall impression that this is just an Attila reskin with less diversity. I'm in no way hiding that I did not like Thrones of Britannia, and the reasons I've stated are indeed the reasons I believe helped seal the game's fate as a failure. At the time of writing, the game only had 145 concurrent players, less than half of what the original Rome Total War had at the same time. I am personally never inherently against any new Total War game. I go in with interest and judge based on what is there. But what was there in Thrones was just awful. And based on player feedback, Steam player counts, and even overall Steam reviews, which for some reason has seen an uptick in the past months because of God knows what. But yeah, maybe it's the shield wall mod which adds an actual population mechanic. Most people agree with me. This game was ruined by atrocious performance, no new visual enhancements, unfun campaign mechanics, and a lack of diversity both on the campaign map and the battle map. And that, my friends, is why Thrones of Britannia failed. I think it's a shame with this game honestly, because it really was sabotaged by the fact that CA chose to use the worst engine they've ever made, coupled with one of the worst UIs they've ever made. This game has none of the charm or color that the Kingdoms Britannia campaign had, and that was indeed a return to something great I would have liked to see. But what do you think? Do you think I'm crazy? Or did CA really mess this one up? Let me know in the comments down below, and if you'd consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel as well, it would really help me out. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers!